Well, I want to point out something that's very obvious in my mind, and I don't know, it's like controversial, but I've always liked to point out that the guys on the other side from the Western elite are just as bad. Okay? That's my main point. It's not like I side with the Western elite or, the global elite. But I realize the people on top of Russia and China, they're running evil systems, and it's actually worse over there because there's no Bill of Rights that's the law of the land to even keep them in check. So it's actually worse. I want to point out something else that's a little obvious. I talked about hemp, industrial hemp especially, and medicinal marijuana oil is great too. But I mean, there's so many people that are so dead set against marijuana that let's just compromise and talk about industrial hemp, which has absolutely no drug in it at all. And it's very useful for food, fuel, materials, clothing, you name it. It's good for every damn thing. And it's illegal in the United States to grow it, right? Which is, we know what the reason is. It's always been, well, what happened was in the 1930s, they found a way to process the fiber from the hemp plant very cheaply. It was a new machine. It was like the Eli Whitney cotton gin was the cotton. So that would actually make hemp go into major production because there was a new way to separate the hemp fibers from the hemp plant back in the 1930s, a new machine. It was touted to be, actually it was going to be the first billion-dollar agricultural product. Now, there was like Rockefeller from Standard Oil and DuPont with his nylon and Hearst with his paper mills with the trees. They didn't like the competition, so they all moved to make it illegal, and they said, all these stories about marijuana and hemp are the same thing, which are not, and it just made the whole thing illegal, right? And the AMA was even mad back then, the American Medical Association, because hemp was in a lot of different things that were used to treat people. So it was a medicine, or actually marijuana, the cannabis, whatever you want to call it, cannabis. Now, I look at something, and this is where my beef comes in with, say, RT or Russia Today or somebody that goes on these shows, and they always throw dirt at the Western elite. My point is, you got the elite on both sides of the world, and they're both screwed up. And it's like, I don't know how some people are coming up to the conclusion that, these guys in Russia Today are truthers. So you get a person like Abigail Martin, whatever it is with the breaking the set. She goes on here and she says about, hemp, right? Hemp was made illegal by the bad industrialists in America and all this stuff, and oh yeah, them bad capitalist pigs, basically. But hey, what about Vladimir Putin? What about him? All his money's wrapped up in oil, isn't it? And natural gas. Hey, he could just say like this, oh, let's make industrial hemp legal for all the people in Russia to grow on their own and enrich their lives. Will he? Hell no. So that's what I have to say about that, is because even in China, where hemp has actually been grown a long time, the elitists on the top of the government and are tied into major industry, their interests are in oil. See, oil is just a way to control people. You got to constantly pay, and nobody can get into that industry unless they have big bucks. But to get into the hemp industry, it's nothing. Anybody can grow hemp. It's easy. It's one of the easiest things to grow because it doesn't even require, it's a very hardy plant, grows fast, it grows to 12 feet inside of 4 months, it produces 10 times the gasoline as corn. It doesn't require pesticides or herbicides, or very, very little pesticides and no herbicides, so there's no problem with runoff from the pollution of polluting the water from runoff from pesticides. And it's a very hardy plant that grows quickly. So anybody can get into that business, they just can't get in the oil business. And it does produce, like I said, just alone, fuel, it's 10 times the amount of corn, much better food product, much higher grade protein, oils, stronger materials, the whole damn 9 yards, And since the 1930s, they had a nice machine that could process the hemp fibers from the plant efficiently. But it's not an East-West thing. Oh, it's a global thing, and Putin's all part of it. I mean, you got all the oil barons here on the West. You got the oil barons in China, and you got Vladimir Putin's an oil baron. His money's way tied up into natural gas and oil. And some, and people come across like, oh wow, Russia today is putting out the truth, but it's not on the major. They're just putting out a story that they can use against the Western elites specifically, but they're not mentioning any damn thing that's going on in their own country. That's the same thing. They're all tied together. They're all tied together. And that's my whole point. They are tied together, and they might compete with each other. Someday there might be a war between the East and the West, and it's going to be like, oh, choose your side. Basically, the game is going to be against the people. It's not going to be against the leaders of the countries. It's going to be against the people. It's really what's obvious. It's always happened that way. But I just got to point out, none of these people, like, when you have a major channel like RT or something like that, basically getting its check from the state of Russia, and Vladimir Putin runs that state with a pretty heavy hand, despite the smooth demeanor. It's, hey, you're not getting any kind of real truth. You're getting like dirt on the West, and that's all you're getting, strictly dirt on the West. And it may be true, but you're not getting any dirt on the his area, and that's the whole game. That's the whole game. But it's a shame that we can't just legalize hemp, because even I know we had like other technologies out there that can like be very energy efficient, like with Tesla. Nikola Tesla came up. I know it's a buzzword now, but he came up with a lot of different things. Even back, way back, going back 10,000 years or more, some people have said that the pyramids are more than 10,000 years old, and it was some great cataclysmic problem on Earth that actually upset everything, that just made the pyramids become damaged with their there's different theories out there, but they used to be generators for electricity, the pyramids themselves. Interesting concept. But the regular people can't build a pyramid. They're not going to. Most people can't go build Tesla devices and capacitors and different things like that. But it's very easy to grow hemp. Anybody can do that, and the elite just don't want you to do that. Whether they're the Western elite in the United States, the UK, or Canada, or Australia, or they're the Eastern elite located in Russia or China, or even Iran. Iran has a nice racket with what do you call it? Their natural gas and oil supplies. They wouldn't want to like have a competition come out that says hemp can now be grown by the people, so we don't need to use your natural gas or crude oil. They don't want that either. So there's no difference. There's no difference between the elite and the world. And it's like, you're almost like, why even choose the lesser of two evils? Why not just reject all of them? And that's what I do. But I realize, Vladimir Putin himself is very much involved with the Western elite. And, despite all the rhetoric on the outside, it's just some anti-Western propaganda they put out, which might be true. But it's true of them, too. So, they're only interested in their own money and their own power. So I don't support any of them. That's really where I'm coming from. And, and I just have to put that out there as a little proof. Would Vladimir Putin make industrial hemp legal to be grown in the state of Russia to help all the people's economic activities and their food supply and free, cheaper gasoline and energy supplies and materials? No, because it's going to interfere with his racket. He's no different from the freaking Western leaders. He's a Rothschild of a different flavor. So just put it that way. I know people can get mad at me about this shit, but that's really what it is. That's what it is for real. I'm gonna say.